Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Rod. So, Rod, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
My name is Rod Chiodini. I am retired, and I currently run a bison herd. According to the state, I have the largest bison herd in the state. We have roughly somewhere between, depending on whether you want to count calves or not, we have anywhere between 60 to 80 head of bison. These are genetically tested, pure North American plains bison, and we sell breeding stock as well as wholesale and retail meats.
Awesome. So, what state are you located in?
We're located in Fox, Arkansas. That's north central Arkansas up in the Ozark Mountains.
So, how did you get the idea to start this business?
I don't really know, actually. I had spent some time in Montana. I'm actually a retired microbiologist. I was at the university, or Montana State University, and I fell in love with bison. And we had a farm we had purchased, and we were revitalizing it. And our idea was to have cattle, but I always wanted 3 bison, something I warned people all the time who want to buy 1 bull and 2 calves, with the idea of raising those 3. And if they have babies, to raise those babies till they were meat ready, and then slaughter them and just keep those 3. And that was kind of our idea. And I don't know whether it was me or my wife, but somebody said, why only 3? And from there, we kind of grew.
That's awesome. So, in terms of your business, what is the role that technology plays in your business?
Right now, we're primarily a local company, and that's largely because of logistics. We do have a website, we do have Facebook pages, but in order for e-commerce, we have a problem with logistics, and that is to ship meat. I need to drive round trip 4 hours to get dry ice and drive another hour and a half to 2 hours just to mail it. So it becomes logistically impossible for us to really sell meat. If the local Walmart would consider selling dry ice, it's something I'd consider in the future. But right now, it's logistically not possible. So most of our sales are done locally. Although we're breeding stock, we ship them all over the country.
Awesome. So, in terms of, dry ice, is that something that can't be shipped? Can you talk a little bit more about dry ice and what it looks like? And, for example, why you couldn't get it shipped to you, or you need to be bought at a store? Just for our audience to know.
Well, if you're going to ship frozen meat, you have to keep it frozen. The way to keep it frozen is to add dry ice to the shipment. No, I'm saying without dry ice, it makes it very difficult to ship fresh meat.
Right. No, I'm saying, but because you mentioned that you have to go to a store hypothetically to buy dry ice, but could you order dry ice online? Is that something that's possible? I
don't think you can order it online. Only because, I don't know. I've never looked into it, but it's not something that you'd have to order enough of it. It does evaporate. Dry ice is just solid carbon dioxide, CO2. So I don't think it'd really be feasible. There's only so much you can put on an airplane. That's why you have to declare how much dry ice you're actually using in your shipment, because you don't want to put the pilot to sleep, because CO2 will put you to sleep. And you really can't seal it because it is something under pressure, so it will evaporate in the airplane.
Makes sense. So in terms of getting the word out, you mentioned it's mostly local, but what channels are you using? You mentioned Facebook, or you're doing lots of marketing. How are you reaching new customers as you grow this business?
I get probably most of my business through our website. That's where people, if you search for bison, I usually show up pretty good. And actually, surprising for the number of bison herds that are out there and farms, there's very few that have actual websites.
That's interesting. Yeah, your website looks really nice, actually. I'm looking at it right now, and it's very well put together. So that definitely makes sense. And I think, to your point, you're taking advantage of something that lots of people don't have, and having that website, I'm sure, makes a huge difference in your business. So, do you think that there's any use case for artificial intelligence when it comes to your business?
I hate artificial intelligence. They're not smart enough. Usually I find when I'm calling a company that by the time I get through to a real human, I'm already in a bad mood because of AI. But at this point, I don't really see where it could come into play.
Yeah,
There's so many people, when you're selling livestock, particularly bison are not like cattle, so you got to be careful of who you're selling to, because they are wild animals. And you just have to go to Yellowstone to see, the people who get injured, and usually at least 1 or 2 people die a year due to bison in Yellowstone. So they're not really something that a novice should tangle with.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So in terms of your business, what would you say is your biggest challenge right now?
Our location being in the middle of nowhere, I mean, that's our biggest challenge. That affects we make most of our money selling breeding stock and selling whole animals for slaughter. We do retail meat, but because we are nowhere, it is kind of limited. And so that's our probably biggest challenge.
Yeah, that makes sense. So obviously you mentioned having the
We,
advantage.
we don't even have, where I'm right now at our house, we don't have cell service.
Wow, okay.
There's they tell us to get a booster, but boosting 1,000 times still gives you 0.
Yeah, that's true. So you mentioned that you have a website. Obviously, that's a great thing. But what else would you say makes you better than your competition?
The fact that we are animal welfare approved. We're the only USDA certified grass-fed bison herd in the country. We're certified grass-fed by USDA and by A Greener World, and we're certified animal welfare by A Greener World as well.
Awesome.
So we really are grass-fed. There is so much bison meat or even beef that's sold grass-fed that really isn't grass-fed. Only because if you're not certified, you make up your own standards and what you consider to be grass.
So when you are certified, are they constantly like randomly checking you? Like, how do they keep you up to date with your certification?
We get audited once a year. Have to fill out questionnaires, answer questions, that sort of thing. They do come out to the farm and visit.
Okay, that makes sense. So in terms of, you mentioned you're only grass-fed bison herd, do you have lots of people that, for example, obviously like in a rural area, that are traveling from other parts of the country to come and visit you and to buy from you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say out of state, but in state, we have people traveling up, 2 to 3 hours to get our meat. People who have tried our meat compared to what you can buy in, let's say, commercial bison meat, it's like night and day. If you just go to our Facebook page, I just posted a comparison of the color of our meat compared to commercial grain-fed and commercial grass-fed, and it's like night and day. Bison are supposed to have a very dark, rich color, which ours are. And if you look at even grass-fed commercial, they look more like beef, the same color of beef, that light pink color. Awesome. And it does make, again, it's what, if you make up your own standards, you can decide what exactly grass-fed is.
What would you say is the top priority for your business in the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, we don't really... Bison are unique. Like I said, they are wild animals. So this is the only time of year I really make any money. We have the herd. The herd gets what we call the roundup. We call it a rodeo once a year. That occurs in November when the calves are old enough to be separated from their mothers. And that's when the herd gets rounded up. They go through our handling system, our squeeze chutes. They get vaccinated, they get wormed, and all the calves get tagged, both of electronic tags and visible ear tags. And that's when we sell our animals. Also, what people don't realize is bison have a rut. So all your animals are born at the same time. They're not like cattle who can give birth at any time during the year. It's a very short rut. So everything happens all at once. For the same reason, the sale, if I want to sell bison at an auction, my only option will start in December and it'll be over by February. Because before then, the calves are not old enough to be separated from their mothers. And if you try to round up a herd of bison with young babies, you're going to have some dead babies because they're going to get trampled. People don't realize that bison really are wild animals. They're human tolerant, but when you round them up and you start crowding them, you will see their wildness and they will kill themselves or kill others that are near them just to try to escape. So this is the time of year. So right now, and again, we process animals once a year when they're 2 years of age or close to 30 months. So right now I have 8 bulls that are going to be going to the processing plant in the next couple of weeks. And then the rest of the animals all get sold in November. So September and November are the times we make money. Other than that, we don't make money. We spend money.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting business.
Yes.
So what would you say is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you started this business?
I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. We did a lot of research before we even got involved in it. I spent most of my life dealing with livestock. I have a bachelor's in animal science and a PhD in veterinary microbiology. So was not a lot of surprises. Maybe how intelligent they are would be something that and learn how to deal with them. There's an old saying that a cattleman can make his cattle do anything he wants them to do. And a bison rancher gets his bison do anything they want to do. And that's what you have to learn how to deal with them, is you have to convince them to do what you want them to do. You will not force them.
Yeah, it's
again, they are wild animals, and if you want to force them, they will fight back.
it's true, and I think it's and by the way, I think it's great that you had all this knowledge and experience beforehand, because I think many people go into a certain business and they just are kind of like just they don't have any of this experience. They're just like kind of like in the dark and don't know what they're getting themselves into. But I think the fact that you were able to spend all your time researching, and you have all this experience, it's a very valuable thing for your business.
And then also, as far as bison go, what I always tell people is, don't try to jump into it. Get yourself a few young calves and let them grow. I mean, even when I started, there is no way I feel comfortable within a few feet of a 2,000-pound bull. Now they don't bother me. Now I know them. I understand them. I've grown with them. I respect them. I'm not sure they respect me, but they're tolerant of me.
Makes
So
sense.
I think it's grow, with whatever business you're dealing with. Don't just jump in.
Yeah, definitely. So if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you expect things to go for your business?
Hopefully to be making a profit. We are making a profit, but it's taken us, this is like our second year making a profit. There's all sorts of problems you run into. And starting a farm, starting a herd is a very expensive proposition. It's like any business. And again, our remoteness does hurt us. So it takes a while to get known. It takes a while to get your reputation out there.
That makes sense. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or Facebook page? Like how somebody could get in contact with you?
They can always call me. They can go through our Facebook page, through our website. My phone number's out there. My email address is out there. We give free tours to see the bison. Bison are fascinating animals. They're a U.S. national mammal. And like I said, we give free tours all the time.
Awesome. Well, that's amazing. And I just want to say, Rod, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. Hopefully you guys keep growing and making a profit. It's a really cool thing that you're doing, especially in a rural area. It's an amazing story. So keep it up. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rod.
Take care.
Bye.